Hi there.
Hi.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And look at that Alice's restaurant. How about that?
Oh, yes, you can read it. Yes, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the great good fortune to know a human being who has been working on human rights issues, on farmers' rights issues, farm workers' rights issues for a long decades and decades. And I have the good fortune to have her with me today, Jeannie Economos of the Farm Worker Association of Florida. Um, there's so many ongoing issues from the air quality when they just casually burn and pollute like mad to so many other issues. I understand you have an event coming up. Jeannie, let us know what we need to know about this event. How can we help? How can we support you?
Well, May 1st is International Workers' Day around the world, and for many countries around the world, it is their Labor Day. And so we have celebrated May 1st and Workers' Day for many, many years. In 2006, we had one of the biggest rallies ever in Orlando with 20,000 people around immigrants' rights and worker rights. And this year, as everyone knows, our communities have been under attack in so many ways nationally, but also in Florida. And so we are organizing an event in downtown Orlando on May 1st, Sunday. Our office in Homestead is also organizing an event in Miami. So there's two events going on May
Excellent.
1st.
Excellent.
And it's we're working with a couple of unions and other grassroots groups in the community, and we just got done with the meeting, and we're very excited about this event on May 1st to raise up worker rights, immigrant rights, farm worker rights, LGBTQ rights, disabled rights. All our rights are being under attack right now, and we're speaking out. We're not standing for it. We're speaking out, coming together in unity and solidarity to make a difference.
That's wonderful. Doing the good work that you have for so long. Um, I have to ask. I know there's been some concern raised that the burnings continue, and I was wondering if you could speak to that a little bit.
Well, the sugarcane burning is still continuing in South Florida. It's really horrible. It's a long story in itself, but when the sugarcane burns, they burn the sugarcane off to help the plants, supposedly to help the plants. But the low income Black communities, Black and Brown communities, mostly Haitian, Hispanic, and African American, get the smoke from the sugarcane burning. And it's really criminal because when the winds are blowing towards the rich people's areas on the coast and towards Palm Beach, they don't burn. But when the
Isn't
winds are
that
blowing
something?
in the other direction towards the poor people and the people of colors communities, then they allow the burning. And there's lots of incidents of asthma, respiratory problems, and they've been fighting that for many, 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 many years. And Sierra Club is really involved with them as well. And there are better methods to do in place of sugarcane burning to do mulching. But so far, our great corporations in Florida are still allowed to burn, even though it causes harm to the most vulnerable people.
I would ask, gee, is there no environmental enforcement? But then again, I would probably know the answer that there is none.
Exactly. And actually, I'll just put a little plug in. We worked with Center for Biological Diversity and Dr. Nathan Donnelly. And on the 19th of April, it came out with a report on showing the environmental justice issues related to pesticides. And it's a excellent report. It was just published in BMC publication. It's a journal, an academic journal, and it makes the case for the first time in a very, very comprehensive way that pesticides from the beginning of fossil fuel extraction to production of fossil fuel in brown and Black communities to the use of those pesticides on fields where farm workers are the most exposed. And it makes the case that this is an environmental justice issue, but it has all kinds of citations and history that it can be used as a really good advocacy tool because this administration at least is giving lip service to environmental and climate justice. So we're going to hold them accountable to it. And this report that just came out, I can put it, I can share it with you after,
Please do. Send me the
share
link.
it with your listeners. So
That
yes.
you mentioned that this current administration, and while it must be said they're not Trump, that must be said. It also must be said that they are continuing Trumpian policies. That the changes we hope to see on the border, the changes we hope to see in immigration policies haven't occurred. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, one of the biggest disappointments for us was the issue of the Haitians, something like 14, 15,000 Haitians at the US-Mexico border. And the way the Haitians were treated was just horrendous. We have a Haitian community in Florida and in Apopka, and a lot of them are farm workers. We used to have Haitian people on our staff, and we have Haitian community members and members of our organization. And we were just appalled, outraged, and sickened by the way the Haitian immigrants and migrants were treated, especially when you know their long history of how they left Haiti, and some of them had to live in Chile, and their long journeys through South America, through Central America to get to the border, just to have hope of having a better life and some kind of work and stability in the United States. And they were treated worse than other immigrants, and it was just criminal. We did work with some groups locally to try and help find some um, housing and temporary housing and assistance for a few families here in Central Florida. But the issue was massive, and it was just heartbreaking. And that, honestly, to be honest, and I hate to say it, but that really soured me on this administration. And since then, things have not gotten a whole lot better.
Well, you're obviously have been in discussion with people about these issues. Is there any reason to have hope that there's going to be a little sanity and humanity in policies that people are faced with? Obviously, we know the Republicans are going to make all the hay they possibly can about the invasion of foreigners, of aliens, but is there any reason to hope that this administration is going to turn some kind of corner?
Well, the one thing that does give me some hope, I am very disappointed in the immigration policy, continuing a lot of the Trump administration immigration policy, and on some other fronts. The one thing that does give me hope, and again, we're making sure that this isn't just lip service, but this is the first administration since the Clinton administration that has really put an emphasis on environmental and climate justice, or better terms, environmental and climate racism. So you might know that the administration formed what's called the White House Environmental Justice Advisory Council.
I heard that, yeah.
And there are some awesome, dynamic, incredible activists on that White House Council advisory.
Wow.
And we know some of them, and they are dynamite. And if anybody could do anything with this administration, they're the ones to do it. So they're actually going to have a public meeting with WEJAC coming up. I think it's next week or the week after. So one place I do have some hope is on health and safety. OSHA is in a process of looking at developing, finally, heat stress standards. Maybe a few years late, but better late than never.
Sure.
So we're being really engaged with OSHA on trying to get heat stress standards. We've been meeting with EPA very frequently.
Really?
Yes, and again, I don't want to get too optimistic, but at least there are some signs that there's some folks at EPA that realize that they need to do better. Maybe they got shocked at how bad the Trump administration was, but we've had quite a few meetings with EPA recently. Some good news is that the really horrible pesticide called chlorpyrifos, and people might know it by Lorsban or Dursban, we've been fighting against that for only 20 years. And finally, as of last month, there will be no more use of chlorpyrifos on food products. the EPA finally banned the use of chlorpyrifos on food products. Now, it can still be used in other kinds of agricultural products, unfortunately, which still affects farm workers. But farm workers that work on food crops and people that eat food can rest a little bit easier that at least chlorpyrifos is gone. I'll put in another one plug. There's a bill out there called the Protect America's Children from Toxic Pesticides Act, or PACTPA. And we fully support that because it would ban organophosphate and carbamate and neonic pesticides. So people can look that up.
That's great. That's good to hear. Now, obviously, there's little positive coming out of the governor's office and the state offices. Is there any? I'm sure there's some ongoing meetings. Are they going to address? Do you anticipate them addressing any issues based on this action you've got coming up?
Oh, they're addressing issues, but all in the wrong way. No, we don't have much hope at all from this administration. If anything, it's been extremely ugly. I'm sure folks have heard about all the voting rights, overturning a lot of voting rights.
And the election police.
And the election police and the Don't Say Gay bill and the anti-immigrant bill where local law enforcement have to partner with ICE, the 287G program, the anti-sanctuary city bill. It's very ugly. I'll let you know, about 2 months ago now, we had an incident here in our area, in the Apopka, Orlando area. There's a thing called H-2A workers, and they
Right.
are workers that come here on work visas. So
Right.
they're people that come from other countries. They are here legally on work visas for a certain period of time. Well, a local grower, nursery, had about 80 workers that were H-2A workers, and he moved them to a hotel where there were better accommodations in a town called Maitland, which is a bedroom community of Orlando. Well, the local people saw buses full of dark-skinned Hispanic males, and this whole thing blew up, and it was all over the news media, and the local people were saying, Biden is sending us all their horrible immigrants that are illegal, and they're rapists and criminals, and it went all over Twitter, and local elected officials were tweeting about how we have to send these people back and how we want them out of our neighborhoods and how they're illegal. And it was really embarrassing for them when they found out that all these people were here legally. So we had a big press conference here. And the sad thing is that these are young men that come from their home countries legally to work because they can't make enough money in their home countries.
You know,
and for them to be treated like that is absolutely horrible.
one would think that given the crises of international shipping, the disaster that many of us anticipated of this short-term, buy quick, depend on international shipping, that's not working. And you would think that agriculture that is U.S. based would get some support so that when shipments from Mexico or Chile or South America when they're having problems with shipping, that homegrown foodstuffs would be supported.
Well, it just shows the ignorance of the American public. And it just shows that this is not about anything based in reality. It's about a radical ideology. And let's say it like it is. It's about racism. And it's about white supremacy and people not wanting people that look different, that are of a different skin tone, different skin color. They don't want them in their community. And unfortunately, instead of getting better, like we should be getting better, peace, love, and harmony, we are spewing these conspiracy theories, these anti-immigrant, anti-other, anti-people of color attitudes. And it's really heartbreaking because I was there when they had the George Floyd protests in Orlando, and it was so beautiful because it was a rainbow of colors of people, and young people that were really in solidarity with each other and didn't care about race, didn't care about gender. They really were there together. And I felt a real hope that things were going in the right direction. And then we have things like this and this governor doing these horrible things. And it's really, on the one hand, it can make someone discouraged and think that, oh, things are so bad, I just want to give up. But this is the time. This is the time more than ever not to give up, because that's what they want us to do.
Yeah.
They want us to give up. So if there's any time to fight, any time to believe, any time to keep going, this is the time to do it, because otherwise they win.
That's
Just
right.
by having defeated you more, emotionally, morally, by giving up to their horrible hatred and ugly rhetoric. So on we go.
Some of us have been talking about this and agitating for this for over half a century, and to see this backsliding, it's tough. It's real tough. But as you say, we don't have the option of giving up.
Well, it really is incomprehensible. Like you, I'm putting close to 70, and so I was there before we had Roe versus Wade, and the struggle that it took to get Roe v. Wade, and to see that it's being eroded now and possibly overturned, especially when Latin American countries are, passing laws that are, pro-choice. It's just mind-boggling to me that our country is slipping into what seems like the dark ages. But that's why, again, there were people in the dark ages in the past that held a candle and kept that candle burning throughout the dark ages until the candle could be a bigger light again. And that's what we have to do. We have to all be holding that candle through this darkness until we get past it.
I went to a ACLU national meeting in, I think, 2006. And one of the guest speakers was Antonin Scalia.
Oh.
And it was what's a good way to put it? It was a very, very powerful, sobering meeting. And he made a comment at the end that sent a shiver through this entire, 1,000+ room. He said, well, if we can get 3 more justices,
oh my,
you better watch out, because things are going to change. And sadly, that's what we have.
Yeah, and that's what I think is scariest of all. Yeah, I have a friend who passed away about a year ago, and we've been activists together for 30 years. And she used to always say, it's all about the Supreme Court. It's all about the Supreme Court. And I wish she were here now, or maybe she's in a better place now. But absolutely, our Supreme Court that was our holdout to try and help us keep our rights. So we're in very scary times. And I think, it's, I have friends that, are white middle-class folks. And sometimes they don't get it, because they say, yeah, things are really bad, but they don't see what I see. Because a lot of it is, they understand that voting rights are bad and anti-immigrant rhetoric is bad, but when you see it in the real people every day and what it does to people every single day, we have people who are, if they had access to counseling, they would be having PTSD counseling, trauma, because of fear of separation from their families, or not fear, but actual separation of their families.
Yeah.
We had a case a few years ago of a man from Honduras who was here on labor trafficking. He was a victim of fraud because of labor trafficking. They worked with him for 2 years to try and get him to talk to Homeland Security so he could get a trafficking visa. But he was afraid to do that because the traffickers knew his family back in Honduras, and he was afraid they would target his family.
Yeah.
Well, we lost track of him, and then years later, he contacted us because his 13-year-old son traveled from Honduras by himself to the US-Mexico border because he wanted to see his dad. And somehow his son was able to get across the border.
Wow. Wow.
And so a few years later, Selvin came into our office with his son.
How nice.
And Selvin is still here undocumented. And so he still runs the risk of being deported. But he was so proud that his son was here. And his son went through all kinds of hell to get here. But
I
he was
bet.
in school, and he was so proud to be with his father. So it's one thing to hear about these things theoretically. It's another thing to look people face to face in the eyes, see their children, see them, see the fear in their eyes, know their stories of what they've been through. It's a whole different ballgame when you know people personally affected by these horrible policies. So these policies hurt, and they hurt people badly, and they hurt our society if we keep having horrible policies like this. And it's basic human rights. We talk about human rights in other countries. Well, what about human rights in our country?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to go over the list of speakers?
Oh, for the rally, we have Unite Here. People from Unite Here are going to be speaking. That's a union that has a lot of Disney workers, and a lot of their workers are immigrants. We have Florida Immigrant Coalition, and Marlene is going to speak about climate justice and climate migration. We have Mi Familia Vota, which is a Hispanic organization that works on voting rights. Of course, the Farm Workers Association. We have Hope Community Center, which is a sister organization that does a lot with immigrant youth. We have Florida Rising, which is a statewide organization that works on housing and other kinds of progressive issues. And we have Florida Legal Services.
Good.
We have a Haitian woman who is doing a medical legal partnership work through a fellowship. And but we have also and IATSE, which is also a union that does Stagehands Union, and they're going to be doing the sound for us at the event.
Well, that's wonderful.
We have
That's
lots of
wonderful.
other organizations that are going to be endorsing the event.
That's wonderful. Jeannie, thank you so much for your time. You must be exhausted. I know the kind of days you put in. I would say something similar like you're doing God's work, you're doing the work of humanity, but you know that. I just have to say thank you, my dear friend. God bless you for the work that you do.
Thank you, and thank you for keeping it going, and thank you for bringing all these important news stories and these speakers to your show and getting the word out to the public. So thank you very, very much, because media is where it's at. We need good progressive media. So thank you.
Thank you, my friend. You take care of yourself, please.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.